Have you ever felt like society is moving too fast, and somehow other people seem to understand it better than you? It looks simple from outside. People scroll news, watch videos, and talk about what is happening in the world. But still, most people feel confused, misled, or late to understand real changes in society. The truth is, ancient thinkers already studied this problem thousands of years ago. In old writings like political teachings from India and deep reflection notes from Rome, they found something very important. Humans do not act randomly. Our choices are guided by patterns like rewards, fear, approval, and social pressure. Modern psychology also confirms this idea through incentive theory, which shows that behavior is strongly shaped by external rewards like money, attention, or security. So if you learn to see these hidden patterns, you can understand society in a much clearer way. It becomes simple. You stop guessing. You start observing what people do, what rewards they chase, and how groups influence each other. This video will guide you through easy psychological tricks based on ancient wisdom, like observing actions instead of words, understanding hidden incentives behind decisions, and thinking independently even when the crowd is loud. If you stay until the end, you will see how to apply these ideas in real life step by step, in news, social media, work, and daily life decisions. And if you find value in this kind of thinking, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can keep learning how to see society more clearly without confusion or stress. Most people think they understand other people because they listen carefully to what they say. But one of the oldest lessons about human behavior is that actions often tell a much clearer story than words. This sounds simple, yet very few people practice it. That is one reason so many people feel surprised, disappointed, or confused by the behavior of others. Think about everyday life. A company may say that customers come first, but if customer complaints are ignored for months, the actions tell a different story. A friend may talk about loyalty, but when life becomes difficult, that friend may disappear. A public figure may promise honesty, kindness, or change, but if their daily behavior never matches those promises, the actions reveal what words try to hide. This happens because words are easy. People can prepare them, repeat them, and shape them to create a certain image. Actions are different. Actions are habits. Habits are much harder to fake for a long time. When you watch what people repeatedly do, you begin to see their real priorities. A simple way to use this idea is to ask yourself one question whenever you want to understand a person, a group, or even a trend. Ask, what keeps happening again and again? Do not focus on a single moment. Look for patterns. If someone says health is important but never takes care of themselves, the pattern matters. If a business claims quality is important but constantly cuts corners, the pattern matters. If a community talks about helping others and regularly shows up when people need support, that pattern matters too. The more you practice looking for patterns instead of promises, the easier it becomes to understand society. You start noticing who follows through, who only talks, and what people truly value. This skill does not require special training, high intelligence, or inside information. It only requires patience and observation. Once you begin watching actions instead of words, many things that once seemed confusing suddenly become much easier to understand. Once you learn to watch actions instead of words, another question naturally appears. Why do people choose those actions in the first place? The answer is often much simpler than most people think. Behind many decisions, there is some kind of reward. It may be money, attention, comfort, security, approval, or a feeling of belonging. When you learn to look for these rewards, many things happening in society suddenly start making more sense. Think about social media. Why do emotional posts often spread faster than calm and balanced ones? Because strong emotions grab attention. Attention is a reward. Why do some people continue arguing online for hours even when nobody changes their mind? Because being seen, supported, or praised by others can feel rewarding. Why do many people stay in jobs they no longer enjoy? Often because a steady paycheck provides security, and security is a powerful reward. Why do fashion trends, challenges, and popular opinions spread so quickly? Because many people want to feel connected to a group. Belonging is also a reward. This does not mean people are bad or selfish. It simply means human behavior is often guided by what feels useful, safe, or valuable. Ancient thinkers noticed this long ago. They understood that if you want to understand behavior, you should not only look at what happened, you should also ask what benefit the person expects to receive. A simple way to practice this is to pause whenever something surprises you. Instead of saying, "Why would anyone do that?" ask, "What reward might they be chasing?" The answer may be money. It may be status. It may be comfort. It may simply be avoiding fear or uncertainty. The more you ask this question, the more clearly you will see patterns in workplaces, businesses, communities, relationships, and society itself. Over time, this habit helps you become less confused by people. You stop reacting to every event and start understanding the reasons behind it. And when you understand the reasons, the world begins to feel much easier to read. There is one final lesson that can completely change the way you understand society. Even if you learn to watch actions and understand incentives, you can still be misled if you blindly follow the crowd. Human beings are social by nature. We like to belong. We like to feel accepted. We like knowing that others agree with us. There is nothing wrong with that. The problem begins when the desire to fit in becomes stronger than the desire to find the truth. Think about how often people accept an idea simply because it is popular. A post goes viral online, and thousands of people share it before checking whether it is true. A rumor spreads through a workplace, and many people repeat it without asking for proof. A product becomes fashionable, and suddenly everyone wants it. An opinion becomes common, and people begin repeating it even if they have never taken time to think about it themselves. When something is repeated often enough, it can start feeling true even when the facts are weak. This is why one of the most valuable habits you can build is learning to pause before joining the crowd. When you hear a strong claim, do not immediately ask whether people agree with it. Ask whether the evidence supports it. When you see an argument online, do not focus on who is louder. Focus on who is providing facts. When you notice yourself agreeing with something, take a moment and ask, would I still believe this if everyone around me disagreed? This simple habit can protect you from many mistakes. It helps you avoid being pulled around by every trend, every rumor, and every wave of public opinion. Over time, you become calmer because you no longer feel pressure to react to everything you see. You become more confident because your views are based on careful thought rather than social pressure. Most importantly, you begin to see society more clearly. Instead of following the crowd, you start understanding the forces that move the crowd, and that is a skill that can serve you for the rest of your life. When you look at society through these simple ideas, everything starts to feel clearer and less confusing. You stop reacting to every headline or opinion, and instead begin to notice patterns in human behavior. You see that people often act based on rewards like money, attention, safety, or approval. And you understand that most actions are not random but driven by hidden reasons. You also learn that what people say is not always the same as what they do, and that truth is often found in actions, not words. At the same time, you realize that following the crowd does not always mean something is right, because popularity can grow even when facts are missing. When you apply these simple ways of thinking in daily life, you become calmer, more aware, and less easily misled, and you start to understand society in a much deeper and more peaceful way.